and I welcome you all to this fifth webinar on professional etiquettes. I'm Dr. Himanshu Mishra. I am a marketing faculty with the Jaipuria Institute of Management. And today, the speaker for the session will be Professor Jayant Krishna. And Jayant ji has been associated with the Jaipuria Institute of Management, and he takes sessions on all the campuses related to technological issues, personality development, motivational talks, and professional etiquettes also. Prior to joining Jaipuria, Jayant largely has worked with Tatas in their vertical of Tata Consultancy Services, that is TCS, and has worked in different part of the globes in different capacities. So he was working as a director for life science and healthcare at UK and Europe. He was the regional director for TCS at Ireland. He was the regional manager in London. And then in his last working stint, he was the executive director and the chief operating officers for National Skill Development Corporation, that is NSDC, which primarily runs this program is Skill India. He has also served as the chairman for CII, which is Confederation of Indian Industries, which was instrumental in submitting the policy-related reforms and various interventions to the Prime Minister's office, based on which this NSDC was conceptualized. Jayanji is also a recipient of a British Evening Scholarship by UK government, which was in 1997, and is also the recipient of APJ Abdul Kalam Award for Innovation in Governance in 2016. Jayant currently has been associated with a lot of prestigious B schools like IITs and many premier B schools as well. And as I told you, he works as a adjunct senior professor with Jaipuria Institute of Management. So today Jayant will talk on various aspects related to professional ethics and grooming. My sincere request to all of you would be that since I was a part of his first session as well, get ready with your pen and paper. Get ready, you can open a Word file on your laptop if you are accessing Zoom through laptop. He will talk about a lot of crucial points. Just make a summary of those points in bullets for your future reference. Right? So wish you all the best, and over to you, Jayant.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Himanshu. It's such a pleasure to engage with these young minds. They've already taken a very crucial decision in their life to join the MBA program, at a prestigious business school, which is ranked very well in the country. And it's very important that, they should, know as to what professional grooming is all about, what etiquettes are all about, and why are they important in life, and what are the simple tips which they can follow going forward in their careers. So I think why grooming and etiquettes are important. The first thing is that you create a good first impression when you meet a person. Believe me, you do not get an opportunity in life to create the first impression the second time. First impression is always created when you engage or meet a person the first time. That's very important. To understand how to dress up, how to do power dressing, without not necessarily that you resort to very expensive clothing and all that. But you could do tastefully. What kind of dining etiquettes are important? How do you handle telephone calls? How do you handle your conduct in meetings? How do you understand the changes and the variations that you have in the global culture across the countries and sometimes within the country itself? So I think these are very important that I wanted you to understand. And as I repeat, you never ever get a chance to make a first impression again in life. First impression is always made the first time. Therefore, it has to be a very, very manners are all about working smart. They enhance the quality of life at the workplace. And also, when you join, after 2 years, when you complete your MBA and you join a business organization, that time you're not just going for a meeting as an individual. You are the ambassador of that organization. And therefore, it is very important to embellish the company image. And of course, it's a lot of people say, why should we invest in manners, in etiquettes, and professionalism, kind of a thing. Does it make business sense? Yes. My plea to you is that it is a very cost-effective proposition, even if you have to invest your personal resources or the organization's resources to become well-groomed and with good etiquettes and so on and so forth. It makes a very sound business case, because when well-groomed people go and do business or interact with outsiders or solicit business for the organization, believe me, they have a far, far, far greater chance of cracking the jackpot and achieving the outcomes, positive outcomes, much earlier than people who are poorly groomed and who are not well-mannered and who do not represent a professional etiquettes. So it's very important. Few simple things, I mean, a lot of people I see, and in many countries, but perhaps a little more in India, when you meet them, they look gloomy, their face is down, they don't look happy at all, The way you can create a face which is not a reflection of happiness, the same way you could also smile, right? And a smile is not giggling, but a very professional smile. If you meet the person with a professional smile, believe me, it goes a long way in breaking the ice and moving forward with that person. It's a very important that you are neatly dressed and groomed all the times. Do you have a good firm handshake, or rather than what it feels like, a dead fish? It's very, very important to look at these things very seriously. Good handshake is very important, as I said earlier. Is your posture naturally straight? Shoulders back, head held high. These things are very, very important. When you are talking to a person, do you start looking outside the window or something else, or do you look into his or her eyes? That's very important, because if you're looking into the eyes of the person, the impression you give is that you are engaging with the person, kind of a thing. Do you show special respect to people by standing up? If a visitor has come, do you stand up? It is not a question of seniority or juniority. It's just a question of, showing respect to the person. If open the door for the person to get in, or open the door for the person to get out, if he or she is visiting you. I think these are very important, and an absolute yes when you are engaging with people who are older than you. That's very important. So I think these things are very important. A lot of people, when they sit, they'll and have a discussion, they'll either keep touching their face, or they'll keep touching their head, or they'll start, setting their hair in order. These are extremely bad. These are taken to be in extremely bad taste. You could do that if you're coming from a different place in a country where temperatures are high. You really want to go use their washroom, reach early, use their washroom, freshen up, and then go for the meeting. That is understandable. But don't start doing this and that and these kind of things in a meeting. These are a strict no. Do you speak clearly and audibly instead of just mumbling? I think that's very, very important. Clarity is very important. A lot of people say, oh, how can I speak? Because I did not have that kind of a grooming in life, that I did not have that kind of a parenting, that kind of a schooling. So I have missed the bus. You have never missed the bus. If you do not have the advantage of having it naturally your way, simple tip I'll give you. I mean, watch a television news program in BBC or CNN, or any responsible channel, even NDTV, and then take a newspaper of the same day, an English newspaper, and try to read the news the way they were reading it on the television. Believe me, in a month's time, I've found remarkable improvement in the communication skills of those people. So it's very important to speak clearly and audibly, so that there is no strain on the person that what the hell the guy is saying, I can't even figure out. So I think, some of your actions, you have to ensure that your actions are free from nervousness. Some things like some people keep chewing the gum, extremely bad, or biting nail, clearing your throat, scratching, or giggling away to glory. These are strict no's in today's world when it comes to professionalism. They are just not done. When some person is talking to you, are you paying undivided attention? That's very, very important. Because the impression you create, if you are not engaged with the person whom you are meeting, understand that this person has just come for time pass, kind of thing. So you have to give that impression that you are genuinely interested in other people. I think that's extremely important. I don't want to overemphasize on that. When you engage with a person, talk to a person, generally after, there are some short conversations in breaks after the meeting is over, about your hobbies and interests. You must be able to talk to the person about some active hobby that you have, like music, and not just Bollywood music, something beyond a jazz or a rock or a classical, Hindustani or a Carnatic music or some instrument. You may not be playing, you may be interested in listening to cultivate that taste, or a stamp collection or even a gardening, even though you may not have a huge garden, but some pots in your balcony, I think you can always create that taste, or sports. You'll be following an IPL team or a football team. I think reading is very important. Believe me, reading makes the man or a woman complete. It's never too late to start the habit of reading good stuff, or a calligraphy or a lot of such hobbies. So when you talk about these hobbies, it shows that the person is interested. You can't say my hobby is just traveling, or my hobby, if somebody pays for it, then my hobby is traveling, or my hobby is watching movies. You may do it. There's nothing wrong but there has to be certain degree of activity in your active hobby rather than a passive hobby. It's very, very important because you send a signal. And if you don't have it, try to develop a hobby. Other thing which I want to tell you, that some people use a lot of jargon, of fundu, abe tu kya kar raha hai, chalta hai yaar, kaun si aafat aa rahi hai, buddy, these kind of words are a strict no-no in corporate life. They are just not tolerated at all, kind of thing. In most organizations, unless you are in rural marketing and things like that, where some use of slang may be acceptable. But in most organizations, these are strict no-no. A lot of us, go, if you visit countries abroad, in most countries, you will see expressions like, oh, I'm sorry, please, thank you, I beg your pardon. These are used so often, almost in a meeting, you will hear these sentences happening 50 times in a meeting of 2 hours, kind of thing. Indians generally don't do that. Even if if coming together and you feel that you have blocked the way of the person, or your jacket has touched the other person, male or female, his or her jacket, all you have to say sorry. This is very, very important. Even if it's not your mistake, other person's mistake, there's no harm in saying sorry. These and thank you, sorry, are so integral part of their culture, but we Indians don't do it somehow, most of us. So it's very important, because employers, when you join after 2 years of MBA from a prestigious business school, it's very important that employers have huge expectations about your appearance. And appearance doesn't have to be that of an outlandish daddy. That's not the idea. It has to be professional. It has to be tasteful. It can be minimalistic, but it has to be very well groomed and designed, because your appearance always conveys the company's message. That's very important. A lot of people color their hair. Believe me, much of that coloring is not required, and it's not liked, especially, these for Indians, having these orange and brown and, these kind of colors are generally not accepted. Nail colors. Women can polish their nails, but certain colors only, which are more corporate and more acceptable, not some very offending colors. Tattoos, body piercing, these kind of things now may have got some social acceptance, but they are a strict no-no in most corporates. They are completely unacceptable at work. Grooming includes neatness, clean body, well-combed hair, and clothes. Believe me, when I'm saying clothes don't have to be very expensive, but they have to be tasteful. Clothes that are not too tight, or too loose, just the right fit, very, very body hugging clothes are not good. And similarly, very baggy kind of things are also not good. Low cut in the front or back, especially for women, is not advisable, should not be worn. And wearing too much of jewelry, minimalistic jewelry for women is okay, but too much of a jewelry at workplace is not really, can be distracting and better avoided. Even some Indian men, a lot of them, will have maybe half a dozen rings on their, perhaps as many rings as many fingers that they have. These are not socially acceptable practices in the corporate world. You should not have any. A lot of people just wear, like I'm wearing a wedding ring, but obviously most of you will not be married, so you don't have to wear. At best, if for some religious reason or something you have to wear one, and not even that is not required. But if it is a must, nothing beyond one, ideally not even one ring. And those multiple rings are generally taken to be in poor taste. I think it's very, very important to make that first impression some lasting one. Begin with a good hygiene. Hygiene is daily cleaning and grooming, having a proper shower with the shampoo. It's essential. Use deodorant. Put deodorant in underarms and a mouthwash before you go for your last toothbrush in the night, and before leaving the office. It's a must. You must have come across people who have such bad odor that you'd like to maintain a distance from them. It's very important, and many of these body odors come because you are certain made up. You have a certain biological composition here. But you can always address that by deos and mouthwash. It's very, very important. Nails have to be clean and groomed. Neither too short nails that they have been cut too deeply, almost cutting the skin, or they don't have to be long. Just the right size. Groom your hair, but avoid oils which are perfumed, because too much of fragrance that comes, it's not considered to be good. Wear appropriate clothes, have a good posture, be neat and clean. Use good posture and be aware of your personal space. Speak clearly, listen carefully. Indians in general are very, very poor listeners, and they interrupt. If somebody is talking, don't even allow the person to complete what he or she is saying, and they'll interrupt. They feel by interrupting, they are enhancing the conversation. Believe me, in most cultures, that's not the case at all. I'll quickly switch over to the dress sense. It's very important. And as I said, you don't have to go for a very expensive clothes, but you can go for tasteful clothes. Appearances are very, very important. Let's talk about women first. Generally in a business environment, business suits are required. It could be a blazer and a skirt down below, or a trouser down below. Of course, both suits are slightly different. And a woman's attire, what she wears, must mean that she means business. Of course, that's true for men also. And also they should show, even if they are not very high in hierarchy, it's important to show that, yes, I mean business with a degree of authority. So generally, gray, black, navy blue, or with women, little more liberty can be taken, but not too loud colors. Kind of a thing, a black shoe, and so on and so forth. So I think in case you are just in case you are unsure what dress code to follow, being a woman, the best, or even a man for that matter, always follow the boss. Look at what does the highest ranking person in that organization wears, and imitate that. Make a small investment and buy a few stuff which is if you are not clear. If you are very clear, it's okay. If you're not clear, there is no harm in imitating the CEO or whosoever is the senior most person in that office. Imitate that dress sense. That's very important. Basic skirts in black, navy, khaki, these kind of things. And skirts should be the same length as the business professional skirt length, or longer. Too short skirts are not liked generally. They're not in good taste. Some people ask, what about Indian wear? There's nothing wrong in Indian wear. You could do that. Saris are still a very, very graceful form of dressing. You could do that. But saris with a subtle look, I mean, not overdone, kind of a thing. Simple cotton handloom saris, which will cost you perhaps less than $1,000 are just good enough. They look classy because they've been woven on a handloom. These are just good enough. They don't have to be expensive with the proper blouse, which coordinates well with the sari. Avoid wearing see-through blouses. Those are even in Western culture, those are not liked at workplaces at all. They have to be subtle looking. You could have salwar suits also, but very tasteful, non-crushable, not something with a heavy embroidery or very loud colors. They have to be minimalistic, but very tasteful, Avoid too much of jewelry or a heavy makeup. Some makeup is okay for women and even to a lesser extent though, but for men also. It's okay to have a slight makeup, but don't overdo, because people who are too they put up a lot of makeup is generally not seen in good taste, kind of a thing. As I said, minimum jewelry, simple gold, platinum or silver tones in a simple, elegant manner are good. Perfumes, yeah. There's no harm in wearing a perfume, both for men and women, but don't overpower yourself with a heavy perfume, Use one with a lighter note or a intensity, kind of a thing. A lot of people think, I could use any talcum powder and any perfume. Generally, go for the external perfume and the talcum powder should be of the same fragrance. That's very important. Otherwise, a clash happens. Have very romantic blends. Those are, you could wear that in a social outing, but surely not at an office place, not at a workplace. Some people commit mistakes in dressing up. They dress too casually. Even some people, of course, it's a cultural issue. Like let's talk about the US. In India also it varies. In the US, for example, if you're in Washington DC, there are suits and ties and very, very formal dressing, which is there. If you go to Silicon Valley, it's a very casual dressing, but casual, responsible dressing. Casual meaning dress doesn't mean that you could wear anything. A lot of organizations who have a formal dressing on in the first 4 days, they have a Friday dressing concept on the 5th day, where you could be in business casuals, and some people even allow jeans and t-shirt. So, go by what the organization's do's and don'ts are. Just repeat some mistakes. Don't dress up too casually. And if you do not know, if you're going to an organization, you don't know whether the dress code is formal or informal, it is better to be formally dressed, rather than informally dressed. Women do not wear a skirt which is too short, as I said earlier, not see-through or deep cut blouses. Stretched trousers, are generally not considered in good taste. You should be very comfortable, something that is neither very skin hugging, too tight or too loose. That's very important. Never wear white socks in an office. That's very, very important. I'm talking about men. A lot of people just use white socks. And let me also tell you, socks have to match with the color of your trouser. Never with the color of the shoe. Because if the color of the shoe was there, you will always wear black. But that's not the case. If it's a navy blue trouser, your socks have to be navy blue. I think these are very, very important things. And trouser also has to be a certain length, kind of a thing. Generally, when you're standing up, your shoes, your socks should not be your design of shoe and design of trouser, and the length of trouser should be such that your socks should not be visible. It's only when you sit, some part of socks may be visible. I think these are very, very important things. Shoe, the color of belt and the color of shoe have to be the same. That's very important. See, one thing I'd like to tell you that some people think, I'll do it when I get into the corporate sector, if it is required. Why should I do it? But there's an opportunity for you to dress up well because let these 2 years of MBA, let it be your dressing up in your professional grooming and dress code and behavior and manners and so on and so forth. Because believe me, it will not come automatically to you if you wait for 2 years. When I hit the bullseye, then I will do that. Because then you will not be comfortable wearing very formal clothes or whatever it is. So this is a period of apprenticeship for your grooming and for your dress code and things like that. So as I said, shoes and belt, if at all you use, have to be of the same color. I told you about socks, and the tip of your tie should always be, for example, if this is your tie, it should just finish where your belt finishes, kind of a thing. It should neither be too short or it should be too long, kind of a thing. So I think that length is very, very important, and choose a tie that matches with your suit. Matching does not mean the same color. That goes well with that, Very loud red color. A lot of people will come with very loud red, perhaps if you're fond of red, wear more subtle or maroon or those kind of colors, but nothing which is very, very eye-catching and bright. Avoid loud ties or some suits and blazers have that shine, kind of, those are a strict no-no. With some sheen and shine you see on them, those are a strict no-no. In general, even if your organization does not have a culture of trousers or ties, at least wear the trouser has to be generally of a darker color and shirt of a lighter color. Believe me, I in my entire career for office wearing, where I've only had black, few shades of grays, navy, blue, these kind of trousers, multiple, and light shirts, different shades of light blue, light gray, white, off-white. That's all I've had, and that's all is required. Even if you're wearing stripes, they should be not too big stripes, or checks should be subtle or light checks. You can wear, those are allowable, but nothing which is very, very loud, kind of a thing. So I think now let me switch over to how do you greet people? How are you? How do you do? How do you do handshake? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, but never ever good night. Even if your business meeting is starting at 9 in the night, you can't say good night. Good night is only when you depart at the end of the day, kind of. Even if you're leaving the office at 6, you can say good night, kind of. But never at the start of the meeting, because the good night is always a parting greeting and not the welcoming greeting. So I think this is very important that you follow that. Even if you are meeting at 9 o'clock for a business kind of a thing, meeting or a business dinner, always say good evening when you're meeting. While leaving, you can say good night. Business introductions. How do you introduce people so that it doesn't create a discomfort or embarrassment? Believe me, some rules for when you introduce people in a meeting, kind of a thing. Like a lot of people think, women should be introduced first or the last. There's no such rule. Gender doesn't play a role at all, because most organizations today, even in India, they have become equal opportunity employers, and gender disparity is not there at all. So, gender doesn't play. I mean, men and women should be treated similarly, but of course, hierarchy-wise, you have to go. If there's a senior person, introduce him or her first, and then go to the junior level, kind of a thing. But if it is a customer or a client in a meeting, then irrespective that even if that person is not very senior in that organization, the client organization or the customer organization, that person will get a priority, and that person must be introduced, the first. That's very important. When you're introducing, a boss, for example, even if you in a day-to-day working, if the boss is okay with the first name basis, on a first name basis, in a business meeting, especially when externals are there, you can't introduce the boss with the first name. You have to say Mr. Such and Such, Mr. Jayant Krishna, or whatever it is. So, it's very, very important. How do you introduce? I would like to introduce you to Mr. XYZ. I would like you to meet, or let me introduce you to Mr. Alpha Beta Gamma. Please allow me to introduce Mr. James Saxon to you. May I present Chief Executive Officer of the company, Mr. James Callaghan, to you. I think these things, are a very, very important form of introduction. Always get up from your seat while introduction is happening. If somebody is introducing you, it's a good thing to stand up. Even if you are introducing others, it's a good thing to stand up and introduce. I think it's your handshakes have to be firm. A lot of people sometimes you'll handshake, their hand will be like this, that it's like a dead fish. It should not be like that. At the same time, some people almost crush your hand, as if it's a bone crushing. Your bones will crack. It's that stronger handshake. So neither these two extremes. It should be firm. It should show warmth and commitment. That's very important. Some people also hug, when you're meeting, irrespective of the sex, some people hug, or it could be cheek to cheek greeting also, but it goes by the culture of the place. Generally, if you do not know the person well, you should never start a body hugging or a cheek to cheek kind of a greeting unless that person shows, starts it, then it's okay to do that kind of thing. Unless you have known that person for a longer time and that's a usual form of greeting and you are also friendly, you could do that. Otherwise, avoid cheek to cheek or a body hugging kind of a meeting in a formal business environment. Unless the two people, and it's possible, there may be 4 people, but 2 of them you are very close, other 2 you're not. So that do that kind of a behavior of a greeting only with the people you are close to, and that has been the formal that kind of a greeting since long. So I think it's very, very important. Never take the ownership of body hugging yourself. How do you give business cards? Give it at the beginning of the meeting. Always carry. A lot of people have seen, they come for a meeting, sorry, I run short of business card. It is almost as rude as, ideally you should not have come for that meeting if you didn't have the business card. You should always bring them, always have a card holder with you to hold it. Either you hand over a card like this with the respect, and the card should be tilted in a form that the person should be able to read. So, it's not important for you to read the card when you're handing over, the other person to read it. So, it should be arranged accordingly, or it could be given by right hand, the person's right hand. That's very important. If you're using one hand, use your right hand and use the other person, given the right hand of the person. The person in subordination, the younger and junior people, they generally offer the card first, while handing over the card, but maintain the eye contact, because card is a piece of paper, but your eye contact is very important, kind of a thing. And when somebody gives you his or her card, look at the person first and then at the card to establish a connection, because a card you can read later when you get back, but it's very important to establish that connection at that point of time. When you give the card, a lot of people have come from a different meeting and they're carrying some other cards, and many of the cards look the same. It should not happen that you hand over somebody else's card to the person. So always carry that. That's the reason I said a card holder for your own cards. That's very important. And some people come for a meeting and without a scribbling pad, and if they take the notes, they write on the visiting card of the person they have just met in front of the person. This is a strict no-no. These are utter bad manners. You are never ever supposed to write anything on the business card of a person. Little bit on telephones, making the call, be sure to first identify yourself and the company. I am Jayant Krishna from the Tata Group. Tell about the purpose of the call. Please be ready and decide what you'll do if the other person is not calling. If the person that you are calling is not there, especially in a landline situation, leave a message or whatever it is. While answering a phone, you are on a scheduled call. Be it at the desk at the point in time. If the call is scheduled, make sure you are at your desk. Or a lot of offices these days have some telephone kiosks or small meeting rooms where you can, or open spaces where you can go and take a call if you think it will disturb others. Answer the telephone. If you're expecting the call, answer it promptly. Introduce yourself and the company. Use courtesy titles while addressing the caller. Speak clearly, distinctly, and naturally into the telephone transmitter. Sometimes I've seen people, they'll have certain way of talking while they're in a meeting or in a face-to-face meeting. But on a phone, their entire pitch changes. They become hyper. Or a language becomes very loud, and this is generally not required unless the country is suffering from frequent call dropping and poor signal, and which happens in India very often. While you're talking on phone, don't make noise with the papers as if you're turning a report upside down. It doesn't send a good picture, good impression at all. If some co-worker in the same shop floor is talking, some people have the bad manners of eavesdropping, trying to understand what the other person is talking. Never ever. That's not a good practice at all. Never shout over your phone. Don't do chewing gums, cough drops, or Candy chewing. I think when the phone is okay, it's not there. Don't sneeze if you must, because that's a biological need. Make sure you just put a hand on the receiver of your mobile or a landline and then do it. Never ever bang the phone like this. Bad manners. Never say no on a phone, because instead of no, you can say, I haven't gotten to that yet. You never eliminate options on a phone call, because in a phone call, you don't know the body language of the person, the facial expression of the person. So never do that. Don't say, oh, we can't do that. Generally avoid saying this on phone. Say, oh, that's a tough one. Let me see what I can do, I don't say I don't know. Say, oh, that's a good question. Let me think, and I'll revert to you. A lot of people say just a second, and then they'll go search something. These are bad manners. If you need to look at some data, tell the person you're talking to, oh, I don't have the data readily available. Would you like to hold for not just a second? A lot of Indians have this habit, oh, just hold for a second. It's not a second. It's a minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes. Just estimate the time and say, I'll take 2 minutes to hunt. Would you like to call you back, and get that data, rather than say, oh, just for a few seconds and actually you've taken 7 minutes searching it. These are sheer bad manners. I think these are very, very important things to know. Mobile, never ever have those annoying tones. Those are ringtones. Those are extremely offensive. Always have the natural ringtone. A lot of people think, oh, let me look different. Have a Bollywood song or a jazz. I mean, never ever do that. Always have the same ringtone which is there. Provide the standard and the normal ringtone by Apple or Samsung or Nokia or whoever. It's very important. Speak softly. Very often, unless the line is bad, just the whisper is good enough on phone. Office is not the place where you can take a long call from a friend. Or if you have to take it for a minute and say, sorry, you are at work, you'll call back, you'll revert in the evening. Because friendly conversations or family conversations in office are not considered to be in good taste at all. Always prioritize, important, look at what all things you'll have to do. If you are making the call, always make notes that these 3 things, Indians are very bad at making notes. They think, oh, these are there in my mind. And at the end of the day, you'll say that, these 5 things you had to ask and 3 you have forgotten, only 2 you remember. Always, if you are initiating a call, what do you want to achieve out of the call? You must note down. If you're seeking information, you must note down. And a lot of people, and believe me, writing on a pad is still not a bad habit. A lot of people say, let me do online. Nothing wrong in online. But online, you can't do whatever you do. You can't do the same speed as you can just scribble just a catchword, there on a. So whatever you are comfortable with, if you can do online, nothing like it. But always take notes and so on and so forth. When you're going to an auditorium or an enclosed, even in a meeting, it's an insult if your phone rings. It has to be on a silent mode, very clearly. And if you are expecting a very important call which you must take, and yet you are getting into a meeting, then tell the people, sorry, gentlemen, or sorry, ladies. I'm expecting an important call. Whenever it comes, I'll just take a minute off and do it. So tell people that you normally don't do that, but just because a very important call is there, therefore you're doing it. A lot of people, they click pictures on the smartphone every now and then. Don't overdo. In a formal business organization, it is not considered to be good, And a lot of say, oh, can you queue up? Can you all line up and, we'll take a picture. It's not done. And if you want to capture that moment, just ask. I hope it's okay. Would you be okay if I click a picture? And do it 1 or 2, never more than that, and do it very, very discreetly. Your body language is very important. You just be conscious of time. So I think time is almost up, but let me quickly complete as much as I can. Non-verbals are very, very important. Facial, this thing is very, very important. Your face speaks 1,000 words. You have to be conscious about that. Facial expressions can express happiness, sadness, anger, boredom, surprise, lots of things. It has to be very, very friendly. Sometimes, eye contact is culture centric, let me tell you. While in US, a great eye contact is always good. In some countries like Japan, Thailand, Korea, too piercing an eye contact, staring at people is not considered to be in good taste at all. Dilated eyes indicate fear or anger. Rolling eyes shows that how amazed you are. I think these things are to be kept in mind very often. Gestures are very critical. If you shoulder shrug, is generally shows openness and honesty. Hands on chest, will generally show that you are honest and loyal. Leg crossing, if you cross your leg and sit, it shows, unless it's a high table and you can hide, if it can be seen that you are crossing your leg, it shows you are closed and you are not in agreement. Hands at the back, generally either this or this, they show that you want to you want to use your authority, which is generally not good. Head, if you do like this, generally it's supposed to be that yes, you are getting interested. Nail biting is a strict no-no. Straddling the chair means that you are aggressive and dominant, which is not be done. A lot of people put their hands on the hip, kind of a thing, or their crossed arms like this. It shows that you are not conveying a look that says let's talk. It doesn't show a good body language or a posturing at all. Using a pointing finger at somebody is a strict no-no. It should never ever do. It is accusatory and it's hurtful. Fist raising is wrong. Hands crossed in front of you. This shows that this is generally not a good posture. They're small. Of course, there's culture to culture. There is some variation, but these things are very, very important. A weak handshake is never ever good, and a strong handshake is always good, but not bone crushing, as I said. Ideally, a handshake should. Sorry, guys, I'll take 10 minutes more to complete because there's important messaging, and fortunately, Zoom allows us to extend the call, which I did in a previous session also. So your handshake should last for 3 to 4 seconds, not longer. And after 3-4 seconds, you can take the hand back and you can carry on introducing yourself, because sometimes spoken sentences will take longer. Avoid a cold handshake. If you have a bottle of Coke in one hand or a glass of lemonade or a coffee, tea, and you're shaking with the other hand, it shows that you don't care. It shows that you are being disrespectful. Posture is very, very important. As I said, straight postures are always good. Some sitting postures, I'll give you an example. If you just do like this in a meeting, on a table, I hope you can see me. It shows I'm bored and I'm not really paying attention. If you are doing like this shows I'm pretty interested in what you're saying here. If you do like this on a table, just put your hands like this on a table, it shows I'm really interested in you and your ideas, and I'm prepared to listen to you. Generally, if you in a meeting, you can sit like this, or you could even lean forward. If you lean forward, have an open body, a relaxed body, open arms, or open hands, it shows you are engaged positively. Open legs, feet under the chair, or toes, or leaning forward, it shows that you are eager, to do business, kind of a thing. If you close papers, pen down, hands flat on table like this, it means you are ready to agree, kind of a thing. If your head is tilted like this, a lot of eye contact and nodding to what is being said, it means you are paying attention, you are listening. If you suck glasses, pencils, if you have, or just put a thing in the mouth, kind of a thing, stroke your chin, or looks up, legs crossed, it means you are evaluating. It just shows that you are you've heard, you've listened to the person, now you're evaluating your options. And if you're standing arms behind back, smile, and it surely shows that you are, you know. If you're staring into the space, stumped, posture, dawdling, food trapping, this shows you're bored, kind of a thing. If your feet towards the door, looking around, or buttoning your jacket, you're unbuttoning your jacket, now you're buttoning them back. It shows you're giving a signal, I want to go, If you are sitting, moving back, arms fold, legs crossed, head down, and frown, it shows a rejection of you or your business proposal. If you are tapping your finger, foot tapping, staring, it shows you are being aggressive, and you say that, let me speak. I want to say it, being a combat mode kind of a defiant. If you hands on hips and frown, it shows you are, and stand in a meeting, it shows you are being if you touch your face, hand over mouth, pulls ears, eyes down, glances at your shifts is neat, looks down, and these are all signs of embarrassment, I think. I'll just take 2 minutes. Of course, these are detailed thing, a very, very basics of dining. And I want you to understand that there's a difference between eating and dining. Eating is for your stomach, for your palate, whereas dining is a fine art. It's a piece of art, especially sit-down dinners and so on and so forth. It's very important. Always that if you say sit-down dinner, the setting on the table, the way plates and cutleries, are arranged. It's almost like a roadmap. Always when you sit down, put a napkin full or put it on your feet. For women, it's a caution if you go for a dinner meeting. Generally, don't wear very too much of lipstick. You can, a light one, but not something which shows on your glass and in your silverware as you eat and thing. And generally, it's not considered to be tasteful. A lot of pieces of cutlery are there on your table. They generally start for the first course. You start with the left one and then come on the right one. While you are ordering, just take a clue what the host is ordering or what the boss is ordering. Generally all glasses, they're different kind of glasses for different. Maybe I'll take you to a one-day workshop when you actually come on board at Jaipuria Institute of Management, and share with you that there's different kinds of glasses, each glass for different types of drinks. Avoid making noise. So always use it from the stem of a glass, kind of a thing. Avoid making noise with the silverware. A lot of people put a lot of salt and pepper and seasoning on the food. First taste the food and then put it, kind of thing. Do chew your food silently. It should not make, noise with your mouth. That's very, very important. Pass the food platters, from left to right. That's the sequence always. And, always take small size of bread rolls, which you can easily eat and chew. If you do not know, if you're ordering, for example, from a menu, and somebody else is hosting it, make sure you do not order very expensive drinks, or food items at all. Because somebody else is paying, you have to be mindful of the budget of the person. Never overindulge, kind of a thing. When you're taking the soup, never slurp, And always soup is taken from the spoon, from the side of the spoon, like this. Very, very important. The silver course crockery, as I said, generally there are multiple types of crockeries, one for fish, one for this, one for that. Start from the left. Generally for the first course, suppose it's a 7-course meal, the first course will start from left. I think these are very, very important things. And chew your food inside the mouth and do not talk with a full mouth. I mean, it's okay to have conversation on a dining table, on a restaurant table, but you speak when it's over. That's very, very important. So what are these 7 courses? Typically, it will start with the appetizer course, then you will go to the soup course, and with the soup, sherry may be served as a drink. Then it will be a fish course. With fish, generally white wines go, and white wine, and for everything is a different glass. When a main course, you can have with main course red wine, and with then salad course could be there, and dessert course could be there. Dessert and champagne generally go hand in hand, and of course the tea and coffee at the end of the day. You know, when you're ordering, if your boss is ordering, just make sure it is good to generally follow what the boss has ordered, unless you generally dislike what the boss has ordered. You know, if instead of aerated drinks and things like that, it's always good to order mineral water. It could be you know, still or sparkling. You know, sparkling is almost like what you get the soda. I mean, in most foreign countries you get sparkling water like that. So order that. Generally, you should avoid drinking unless your boss is drinking. If your boss is drinking, generally a drink is considered to be safe, that you know you are socially connected also, and yet not get drunk with the boss. You know, it's good to have a glass of wine, you know, kind of thing. And whenever you are in doubt, you do not know some you know, drink or dining discipline, always try to absorb you know, the clues from the boss and follow the boss. That's very important. I will end at this stage, but please understand, I mean, these are the perhaps once you join, you know, I could do a one-day workshop, role plays in each of your locations, depending upon whether you are in Delhi, that's Noida, Lucknow, Jaipur, or Indore. And but remember, you know, that dining is a fine art, whereas eating is only to take care of your stomach and to please your palate. I think this is very important, and I just wanted to touch some tips of the iceberg with you. And you know, it's important because, you know, this conduct will be expected from you when 2 years down the line you'll be working. As I said earlier, start following this regime right now, or at the earliest when you join the institute. Because, you know, this is a 2-year apprenticeship you are getting, and you conduct yourself in that form. A lot of people think, oh, why the hell should I do? I will do it only when I join the corporate. Believe me, if you do it when you join the corporate, these things will not come to you naturally, and you will look, you know, as if somebody who's aping these manners. And if you start doing it right now, even if you're going to a restaurant, use that cutlery in a certain form, and avoid slang, posturing, eye contact, handshake. I mean, whatever I talked about, the way you give cards, let that become your practice. Then you'll become perfect 2 years down the line when you pass out, and you know, and your organization will benefit. You will benefit. Let me tell you, a lot of people say, "Oh, why the hell I should be well groomed? I should have good etiquettes for the company I'm going to work for." Obviously, if you will not have, your company will not give you a raise. You know, you will not get good results. But also, you get a huge feel-good factor once you do these things to yourself. Thank you. I'll end at that note, and looking forward to meeting each one of you once you join. And let's, over and you know, what Dr. Himanshu introduced me. I mean, I have been with the Tata Group for bulk of my career. I started in the Tata Sons, which is the holding company. Before the big 4 consulting companies had come there, I worked there as a management consultant. Then I joined TCS and worked very closely with the Tata Administrative Service also. And then I was with the Skill India Mission in 2 different roles, that of the Chief Operating Officer and Executive Director, as well as the Chief Executive Officer. And now I'm with a think tank, and I'm also a distinguished professor adjunct at the Jaipuria Institute of Management. I would love to work with you, and together we learn, and to ensure that each one of us becomes a better individual in life and more happy. Thank you, and at that note, I'll call it a day.
Thank you, Professor Jayant, for such a wonderful session. And I could see the chat is entirely full with a wonderful session. Thank you, answer, and a lot of appreciations, right? So as we come to the end of this session, I would just like to, as I said in the beginning, that it's better if you are keeping a notepad with you to make certain points.
Dr. Himanshu, a bit louder, you are not audible.
Okay. So, you know, I could see all the appreciations in the chat from the various participants, and each one is very, very thankful for such a wonderful session, and which they find is very, very informative and engaging as well. And my simple request to all the participants would be that, as I, you know, said in the beginning also, that just make a small certain bullet points of what all has been discussed, right? So these points which were discussed by Professor Jayant, they seemingly seem to be very, very simple. But trust me, if managed properly, they create a very, very significant impact on the other person, right? So he started from the very, very basics, that how you have to dress, what kind of shirts, what color of shirts, what kind of trousers, what kind of skirts you can wear. Then there has to be a sync between your footwear and your belt. What kind of perfumes and deos you can use, they are always good to use, but what kind are more suitable for the workplace, he talked beautifully, right? Then when you are starting a conversation, how you are introducing, how you are sharing the visiting card, how you are making use of those visiting cards, all those are certain crucial important points, right? And I saw a lot of queries on the chat as well. I tried to address them or try to answer them to the best of my knowledge, and I'm sure that you'll be making a note of some of the crucial points, some of the key takeaways from this session. And don't wait for a time. This is another simple request, that don't wait for a time that I will start practicing them once I will get into a job. You should get into a habit of practicing them right from day one you join the campus or you join your PGDM program, right? Because those 2 years will again be full of learning. You will keep on experimenting, you will strike the right balances, and by the time the program ends, automatically all these things will become a part of your habit, will become a part of your behavior, which is very, very important, right? So my best wishes to all of you. Just stay safe, stay at your homes, and take care. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take call care, and looking forward to meeting each one of you soon as the lockdown ends and you join the session, join the course. Thank you.